What's going on, Guardians? TCSpectre here. Today we're going to talk a little bit about this week at Bungie, which came out just today. So I'm going to read it through with you guys, and hopefully there's going to be some cool changes because they're talking about all the sandbox updates. And today they're talking about weapon balancing. So let's just quickly go through this together and see what's in store. I've read this very vaguely once, but I wanted to make a video about it and discuss the changes with you guys, so let's check it out. Oh, and before we start, I also have a Twitch, and I highly recommend it to check it out because we are gonna stream there for day one races when Beyond Light launches. Me and my team has been working really hard to compete for this event, so if you want to see the raid on day one, if you want to see some very competitive gameplay, then check the link out down in the description. Anyway, let's get back to the video. To start off with, they're talking about apparently the story trailer. If you haven't seen it, I highly recommend that you do. It's pretty cool. It has some CGI cutscenes, it also has a lot of gameplay cutscenes. Overall, a really cool trailer. I'm not going to show it right now, I'm going to post a link to it though in the descriptions below, so you can check it out there if you want to see it for yourself. Let's see here, 110s meet 120s. 2 weeks ago, we began a conversation about sandbox tuning for Beyond Light. Armor modifications are getting some hefty changes from reloads to raids. If you missed it, check out the October 8th TWAB. This week our focus shifts on the weapons in your arsenal. As for our mod preview, we have a collection of patch notes accommodated by developer commentary. Okay, so basically from what I can see here, I'm not going to read all this, they're changing hand cannons. So let's start by taking a look at the aggressive frames. They've increased the rate of fire from 110 to 120 rounds per minute. This is pretty nice. I think that's going to make it more viable, especially in PvP. I think people are going to find them more attractive to use, so hopefully this is going to be a good thing. They also broke out aggressive hand cannons allowing custom tuning of stats. For example, damage falloff for 100 range in the subfamily now starts at 32 meters. That means that they increased the range of the guns. So you can now fire from a longer range and still get the full damage. And this is going to be really good in PvP. And I think that's really what they're aiming with when it comes to what you want to do with this in PvP. So yeah, nice. Adaptive and precision. Range stat now has more impact on minimum damage falloff range for both archetypes. Damage falloff for 100 range now starts at 25 meters, was 20 meters. So adaptive and precision get a longer range. I think they're trying to bring back hand cannons into the game. Currently they're pretty weak in PvP. Not bad, but meh. The max range of a hand cannon before it starts to lose damage is pretty low, so this is actually much needed, and I'm pretty happy that Bungie decided to actually buff them a little bit, just a smidge. Precision hand cannons, 180 rate of fire, magazine scale up by 37%. Okay, so they have more rounds in the chamber. That's pretty good. I mean, I can't argue about that. It's a solid upgrade. Note, this also affects exotic with this rate of fire. That is nice. That is really nice. I can't really remember any 180 rate of fire hand cannons, but cool. Buffs are always nice, until they actually break the game. Lightweight, folded into adaptive. Moved all lightweight hand cannons, 150 rate of fire, to the adaptive subfamily, 140 rate of fire. This includes Luna's Howl and Not Forgotten. One exotic hand cannon will retain 150 rate of fire. We aren't going to leave it to speculation. It's beautiful, it does solar damage, it makes enemies explode, it's Sunshot. We selected 140 rate of fire as it's fairly balanced in the Crucible sandbox. It gives our weapon archetypes more time to breathe between shots, avoids an overabundance of hand cannons with faster TTK than other weapons, and it pairs nicely with upcoming changes to 600 rate of fire auto rifles. More on that below. I mean, cool. Just remove 150 from the game entirely, which I can understand because having a fire rate at 140 and one at 150 makes no sense at all. It's such a minuscule difference, so this is a good change. Hopefully it's gonna be for the better as well. This I actually read, they wanted the sniper rifles to feel powerful still, and the way they're gonna fix it is that low zoom sniper rifles, your revokers and your beloveds, are gonna be harder to hit headshots with because the area in which you can headshot on is much smaller. However, if you have a higher zoom sniper rifle, you're gonna have an easier time getting headshots because the area of effect where you can hit the target is much bigger, and that's how they're gonna balance the snipers for Beyond Light. And hopefully that's a good change. We're just gonna have to wait and see if that's gonna be good, but I am very optimistic. Auto rifles, everyone uses them. Gnawing Hunger, for example, is part of the 600 rate of fire family. They were given a buff and they're now dialing it down a bit. Basically what they're doing is they're reducing damage per bullet by about 1.5 damage. Prior to Season of the Worry, damage per bullet was 13.75, so they're buffing it up again with 0.5. It's still going to be good in PvP, it's just going to not be as good. I think this is also going to translate a little bit to PvE, where you're going to notice it's going to be a little bit weaker using 600 rate of fire auto rifles, but this is good. I'm saying it's good a lot just because I'm very excited about Beyond Light. Any change for me is just fun because it means the game changes its meta, it changes how you play the game, and it's even if it's a nerf, even if it's a buff, it changes how we play, and in the end, that's what we all want. Let's be honest, nobody uses scout rifles. I mean, some people do, but they've never been really good in Destiny 2, and I honestly, this is my personal opinion, and it's very controversial, but I honestly don't care for scout rifles in D2. In all honesty, they don't seem to want to balance them because of finishers. They don't want you to one-shot with them. So I feel like, why have them in the game? No one's using them and you're just wasting precious development and resources on making something that's not really fun for the player. Sorry to say. That's of course my opinion. You're welcome to try and convince me otherwise. I'm very open to discussion about it. But yeah, that's my take on it. Rocket launchers, people are saying they're fixed, they're gonna work and they're gonna be amazing now, but no. All they're doing is they're improving your reserves. That means you're gonna have reserves. It doesn't mean you're gonna have more rounds in the chamber. Your actual DPS with a rocket launcher is gonna be the same because you're still gonna have to reload, you're still gonna have to fire. And that is where the problem with rocket launchers currently are, if you ask me. It's that they only hold one round in the chamber, making them very slow for DPS. And so this change, not really that impressive. I just feel like it's very underwhelming for rocket launchers. They need a rework for Destiny 2. Currently they just feel weak, and I want them to be good because Gjallarhorn from D1, and we have cool rocket launchers now like True. We have like Deathbringer, if that's the name. We have a couple cool ones and they're very underutilized because they're not really that good. But hopefully they're going to announce more changes with the real patch notes. This is just like a preview, so we'll have to see. The following is a list of surgical changes for select weapon based on player feedback. Outlaw. The reload speed increase felt insufficient for certain subfamilies in combination of roles. For example, aggressive hand cannons. Okay, so they're buffing the reload speed of Outlaw, so it might be more viable again, because after the nerf, it's been fairly weak. I haven't really chased Outlaw as much, which I think is nice. I've gotten to learn about other loadouts, other perks. It's been cool, fun to play with something else, but I feel like Outlaw went from being the best to the worst in terms of reload perks. Now it's going to be there in the middle, which is good. I'm glad. Merciless gets more reserves. Okay, cool. Fusion rifles, yeah, not much to say about that. This is probably where people are going to be most excited about. They've had a ton of feedback about the Mountaintop, and they feel it's a bit over the top in Crucible modes. This pinnacle weapon has had ample time to shine, so we're taking it down a notch. Specific pain points. A one-shot to the body with infinite range. Quick and easy cleanup of wounded guardians, even around corners. Deals high splash damage, rewarding players for inaccuracy. Perfect in-air accuracy allows airborne guardians to rain down death. There's not much grounded guardians can do to respond. Here are the changes intended to address those points. Reduced splash damage by 33%. Increased impact damage such that the total damage is 5% lower than before. Okay, so they're nerfing the splash but buffing the impact. So overall it's going to do less damage, but it also means that you're not going to get as many kills by hitting the ground next to a guardian. You actually have to hit them in the body now, which is good. Because I hate Mountaintop in PvP. I have it, I use it, I love it, but I hate it. It's such a crutch. It's a love-hate relationship. Save me from this nightmare. But yeah, I'm glad they're nerfing it. I'm ready for something else in PvP. Reduced projectile velocity multiplier from micro missile perk from 1.4 to 1.2. An example, now 20% faster than our breach grenade launchers instead of 40. Another nerf, easier to dodge them now, which is pretty good. Reduced in-air accuracy, now has a significant projectile error while in air, around 7 degrees without the Icarus Grip mod, substantially less. So this forces you to use Icarus Grip if you want to get hits in the air. If you don't have it, you're going to miss a lot, so just a pro tip there. If you're still going to use it in PvP, Icarus Grip all the way. Following Guillotine, they're basically nerfing the heavy damage attack by 24%, trying to bring it in line with our swords. I mean, fair point, it's pretty broken. You can one-face dungeon bosses solo as warlocks because of, for example, in Prophecy you can one-shot the first boss because your well will make it so your sword pierces through the goblin shields and the actual phalanx shield. So I get why they're nerfing the damage because it's a little bit too strong. Just a little bit. Falling Guillotine will continue to be slightly above average, just not to the extent that it is now. Mida mini tool. Move the Mida synergy trait to the intrinsic, similar to how the Baroque version works. Added the following perks: hip fire grip, kill clip. Okay? And it's apparently bugged in with the masterwork. They're gonna fix it in the future. The gunsmith will begin selling a version of this weapon on November 10th with no infusion cap. Okay, so that's how they're gonna combat the pairing weapons being sunset. They're gonna sell us a new weapon with no infusion cap. So we're gonna be able to keep using this pairing. Mida multi-tool and mini tool will still work. Sturm and Drang will still work. You're gonna be able to buy them from Bungie when Beyond Light launches, so that's good. Speaking of the Drang, move the Together Forever trait to the intrinsic, similar to how the Baroque version works. Added the following perks: accurate round moving targets. Okay, so that gives it a little bit more range, and it gives you a little bit more accuracy towards moving targets. I mean, that's good, not bad. I haven't really used Sturm and Drang that much. I even never found it to be that useful, but I'm glad for people who use it. That's a nice change. And the same thing here, the gunsmith will begin selling a version of this weapon on November 10th with no infusion cap. There's also an issue with masterwork in this weapon that prevents it from being upgraded. This will be fixed in a later update. Good stuff, good stuff. Ruinous Effigy, nerf that no one asked for and I think wasn't necessary at all, but okay, sure, let's go. Transmutation Spheres, reduce the damage of the aerial melee attack by 25, significantly reduce the damage of the drain effect on enemy combatants. Okay, I didn't know that was a problem, but sure, apparently what's too strong. Arbalest no longer strikes shields multiple times, but its efficiency against shielded targets has been increased. Okay, so apparently it struck shielded targets multiple times. They've fixed that, but instead they've buffed the damage it does to counteract and compensate for fixing it, basically. Jade Rabbit, armor piercing rounds swap to the high caliber rounds. Okay, so there's going to be way more knockback in PvP. That's going to be annoying. This fixes an issue that could prevent the exotic perk from triggering. Okay, so it's basically us them trying to hotfix it. Some of these changes look pretty hefty, and we're looking forward to seeing your reactions. When first hearing that aggressive hand cannons would be shifted to 120 RPM, I wondered if it would be enough to push them into the hands of my guardian. I can safely say that after quite a few playtests, I have a bunch of new favorite hand cannons that have been waiting for their time to shine. I'm just gonna grab my old fashioned. My old fashioned is gonna wreck. Demolitionist, drop mag, something else that's gonna be a beast in PvE. Now let's look at some new hotness coming to the lighthouse near you. Ooh, this is the trial stuff. This is cool. They're talking about the Adept weapons. If you don't know, Adept weapons were a thing in D1. They were the same trials weapons you got, only you could only get them from Flawless, and you had an intrinsic perk that was Snapshot, so you would have one extra perk that you didn't have to choose. It was automatically in the gun. But this time, it's going to be different. Here's how. Masterwork in Adept weapon grants additional stats. Plus 10 for the primary stat as usual, the specific masterwork of the weapon. Plus 3 for all alternative stats. That is really good. That is gonna be a nice buff. That is like an extra perk. That's insane. You're gonna get 3 plus your recoil, 3 plus your stability, 3 plus your handling. You get the point. It's good. It's a really good change. Adept weapons can use either a standard weapon mod or a new Adept weapon mod, earned when going Flawless. A unique Adept shader has been made for these weapons. Note that these shaders are not awarded as consumables when dismantling an Adept weapon. As such, they cannot be applied to other pieces of gear. Okay, cool. That's a unique take on it, to brag to your friends about your awesome new gear. I like it. It looks good. Golden and black. Very nice. These mods come in two varieties: weapon stat boosts, each of which grants plus 10 to a particular stat in a similar way to masterwork stats. Example, Adept range plus 10. That's OP. That might not sound as much, but that is really OP, because this little bad boy here, this summoner, have it masterworked with range and then grab more range, or if it's not stable enough, add more stability. You're gonna have a beast of an auto rifle. This can be said for, oh, I forgot the name of the shotgun, but the trials shotgun as well. You're gonna be able to put in a mod that improves your range, and you're gonna be even more deadly in PvP. So yeah, people are gonna complain about that elite minority that has these weapons, because that's going to make him even better. That's going to make the gap even higher between the skill levels, because now they're going to have weapons that are superior to yours in every way. Unfortunately, and yet I agree with this change, because if you play harder things and you finish them correctly, you should be rewarded for that. Good change. I'm happy. Some of them also apparently reduces another stat, so it's like a benefit and a drawback, but we're going to be able to see a lot of them later on. I think that's going to be like an Adept version of all of the weapon mods that already exist in the game, like Adept Minor or Adept Major damage and stuff like that. And to earn them, you must obviously complete a Flawless Trials passage and open the Flawless chest in the lighthouse. Each week, a different Adept mod can be dropped from the Flawless chest. They will rotate on a weekly rotation, so a given mod may not make its appearance until later that season. The mod is unlocked for use on own Adept weapons when acquired. Adept weapons will also be available from flawless chests on a bi-weekly basis, alternating with armor drops, which by the way we're going to get new armor sets, so that's cool. Adept weapons will be on a set rotation, so players may continue to earn alternate rolls on a specific Adept weapon when completing the flawless passage throughout a given weekend. That's good. And yeah, trials armor refreshed for a future season after the Stardust has settled for Beyond Light. This is good. I think a lot of changes are going to be around stasis, and we're not going to see a lot of changes for the existing subclasses. But we're going to have to see. We still have 2 TWABs left before the reset, so that's it. And if you have Twitch Prime, you can get these: Cryptomnesia Sparrow, ADAS 1 Lone Wolf Ship, Peerless Precision Ghost Shell, and Flare Gun emote. And some basic info they've already gone through a lot of the time. You can't finish Interference Loop Triumph if you haven't done the prior ones. It's going to be Nocris all the way to Beyond Light, so I'm sorry if you haven't finished it, but it's not going to be obtainable for you. Same goes for titles. Claim these and use and equip them once before Beyond Light launches to make sure you have them and they won't get wiped from your account, because apparently if you don't equip them at least once, they're not gonna stay on your character. And then some known issues. The convergence ornament for transversive steps clips through the front of some warlock robes. They're investigating an issue where Ash and Wake can cause damage to allies, and Unbridled Enthusiasm exotic emote is not playing audio as intended. I'm excited. That's some good changes. I thought we were gonna get more than we got, but for what we got, I am impressed. I'm kind of disappointed though we didn't get any more rocket changes. They haven't touched the linear fusion rifles. They're just sitting there in their little corner of, you know, being not bad but not good. They're just lukewarm, and they've always just been lukewarm outside of exotics. I mean, Sleeper was the bomb, and now it got nerfed. I'm waiting to see if they're doing anything good with linears. Otherwise, it's probably going to be a meta that's very close to the one we have now. But before I end this, I want to ask you guys a question, and that is, what's your take on all this? Do you like the new changes? Do you hate them? Let me know in the comments down below. And as always, if you did enjoy the video, if you did enjoy our weekly read along on the TWAB, then leave a like and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. It's much appreciated, and it's also a great way to support the channel, so subscribe if you haven't. And with that, I want to thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. This is TCSpectre, signing off.